Hey, Rideshare Commando here, and I want to give you an update to the towing case, the wrongful towing case that had been going on. So I went to court against May Towing, and first off, the courts here aren't as lenient with evidence as Arizona. So they said I could submit my phone and the information on my phone as evidence, the videos and the pictures and all of that, but they would have to keep it for 30 days. And I almost did it, and I was about to, but the judge had a clear depiction of how things were going to go on. So basically, Ron May Towing, which I believe that the owner of the company was the one that committed perjury. Here's why. They showed a picture of, a sign with a stake in it in the front and so on of the property. Well, I have 3 series of pictures and 3 videos taken on 3 different dates showing that that sign wasn't there and that the sign there wasn't conspicuous. And I was going to show this to the judge and present this as evidence, just give him my phone for 30 days, buy a new one. But the judge went on to say, well, you didn't assume that in Everett, it's not like Tacoma or Kent, where some properties don't have, paid parking spots and reserved parking spots that are covered. The judge assumed that I knew how a lot of the apartments in Everett worked, but without signage, statutorily, there's no basis for that. The judge was assuming and presuming. So he said, okay, you didn't see the barely visible, almost invisible at night number on the stall? No, I didn't. He didn't ask. He just said, well, there was a number there. And there was a lot of presumption going on. So when I file for perjury, what's going to happen is I am going to put in the motion for perjury, but I am going to be contacting the district attorney for the area. And here's why. The judge has a clear and present bias. The company in question has been in business for 20 years. So obviously they know what they're doing, right? But I have clear proof that the gentleman representing May Towing committed perjury. And I can say this openly and on YouTube publicly because it's only defamation if you don't have proof to back it up. I have proof. I have proof that the picture was either fabricated or the sign was placed there after the fact. I have proof that the sign above the stalls, this little strip sign, was the one that was originally there was not very visible at all. And they installed one that, from what I could tell, was more reflective. So it would reflect there and be viewed better at night. They did all this after the fact to cover up. And then the gentleman went in and lied in court. Now, if you're not familiar with perjury, perjury is a felony. That's why they have you raise your right hand and say, I swear under oath, under penalty of perjury, that what I say is true and accurate. So I have, in fact, they gave me a packet of their evidence submission. And I'm going to go back, and thankfully because he committed perjury, I could submit my evidence in document form, and I'm also going to be submitting a CD with the videos that I took. And I'm going to clearly show that that sign was not there. But one thing I'm going to go back and do is I'm going to be gathering a little bit more evidence about Ron May, the company. Because I have a feeling that if they've committed perjury in this case, they've committed perjury in other cases. And I'm going to be looking into seeing if there is a class action available. Because it's wrong for... Towing companies are predatory in nature anyway. You get your car towed, you're paying $400 out the door just to get it the same hour it was towed. Same hour. Okay, that's $400. And was it $50 or $125? I forget which. Let me look at this. It's either $50 or $120 every day thereafter. Hourly rates, A, $250, B, $280, C, $450. Yeah, these are real numbers. And by the way, the second they pick up your car, then they automatically start the hourly billing process, even though it's not in the lot. But the statute clearly states that in Section 1, the signs must be clearly visible and conspicuous. And then in Section 3 of the same law, I believe, yes, Section 3, not 2, it states that if it is a private residential property, then the same signage from Rule 1 applies, or Section 1. So, that being said, the statute is very clear, but the judge was very adamant that when it came to the statute, well, I feel like they've satisfied their statutory requirements. According to the false evidence they submitted, that's absolutely true. But at the time of towing, it was not true, and I have proof of this. So I'm going to have to go through another process. I'm going to have to pay $230 to file an appeal, and I'm also going to have to pay, or I'm also going to have to spend the time and contact the district attorney. Whether the district attorney is responsible regarding this matter or not, some are dismissive, and that could be the case. I am going to be speaking to a lawyer and possibly hiring a lawyer, because with the evidence as clear as it is, if it's presented properly and it's handled properly, then this should be an easy win. But at the same time, I've actually been in the courtroom with the judge, and this was for a ticket a long time ago. And before I was called up, he said, well, and this is the Santan Justice Court, Judge Goodman. And this was back in 2007. I was sitting in the court, and he says to the entire audience, I'm going to call it an audience because he was putting on quite a show. Judges are glorified tax collectors. I can only uphold the law and enforce the law. That was verbatim, word for word. No joke. He said he was a glorified tax collector. That's very telling. And the fact that he did ignore evidence in that case, and I ended up paying the ticket. But I have no faith in our legal system. I mean, if you have money and you can pay for a really good lawyer, then sure, the legal system is going to work very well for you. But if you don't, if you're an average person, and let's say you're an Uber or Lyft driver, building up yourself, well, guess what? You don't matter to them. You don't matter to the city. You don't matter to the county. You don't matter to the state or the federal government. Now, your money matters. They will collect your money. But from what I can tell, I'm very disenchanted with judges. Very much disenchanted with judges. I would love to encounter one that does not make presumptions. Because in this case, I'm not sure if I want to submit this judge for review. Because if a judge gets enough submissions for review, the Council for Judicial Review, which I think has a different name out here, they review judges to see if they're fit to remain a judge. And there's an actual hearing and all of that. It's a pain in the butt for judges. I'm debating whether this is necessary here. We will find out after the motion, because the judge made a lot of presumptions. And again, I was willing to submit my phone for 30 days and let them keep it as evidence per the rules out here, which, by the way, were not clearly disclosed. But he made presumptions. And because this judge in the Everett District Court made presumptions, I think it was Judge Harris. Let's see here. Is this? No. But there was a judge, and it was in the Everett District Court, and he very much made presumptions. And as far as that goes, judges are not supposed to do that. They're supposed to get to the bottom of things, but the judge clearly did not want to hear me and clearly favored the defendant and the defendant's false evidence, because the defendant had been, basically the defendant had been, whatchamacallit, in business for 20 years. And you would think after that much time the defendant would know better than to commit perjury, but this is what it is. So, we'll see how this plays out. I'm going to keep you updated. But this is an absolute travesty. Legally and judicially, it's a travesty. And it speaks very poorly on May Towing of Everett. But we'll see what happens with this. Maybe the district attorney will do the right thing. Maybe the judge will do the right thing. Even more importantly, maybe they'll do the legal thing. But it remains to be seen. Anyway, subscribe and I'll catch you guys later.